So Transform, the organisation that I work for, advocates strict legal regulation of cannabis. So that means that we want a type of regulation which is different from the kinds of regulations and restrictions we have on alcohol and tobacco. So we think that we should learn from the mistakes we've made with these two currently legal drugs, because historically these drugs have been quite poorly regulated. We've had large commercial companies take control of the alcohol and tobacco trades, and that's led to mass promotion, dramatic increases in consumption, and a lot of health and social harms. So we want to learn from these mistakes and implement systems of cannabis regulation which do a better job than alcohol and tobacco. So we want to establish forms of regulation that promote public health and safety rather than private profit. And we think that in order to do this, we need to establish a groundswell of public support in order to encourage policymakers and politicians to speak out in favour of drug policy reform. So the organisation I work for, Transform, we initiate campaigns to encourage people and other organisations to support drug policy reform, because the fundamental problem that is blocking cannabis policy reform is politicians' reluctance to speak out on this issue. Now, privately, a lot of politicians will recognise and acknowledge that current cannabis laws aren't working, but in public they refuse to say the same thing. So our job really is to convince them that it's safe and it's acceptable to voice these opinions in public. And so we work with other organisations, we work with the media, politicians and political parties in order to convince them that it's okay to speak out for drug policy reform. Transform's vision of a legal cannabis market certainly includes cannabis social clubs. We think they're a good idea. We particularly like the way they're run, so we like the fact that they're not for profit, that there's a membership policy, that there's little or no advertising. We think these are all really good ways of making cannabis legally available. But on a bigger scale, we like the system that Uruguay has implemented. So we think that their form of regulation, which is quite strict and is quite controlled, is probably the most cautious and most practical way of legally regulating cannabis. And of course their model allows for home growing and it allows for cannabis social clubs. And we think these are good ways of making the drug legally available in a safe and controlled way.